Welcome, UCL fans, to the mid-season of the United Championship League off-season Little Cup tournament. We're 3 weeks down with 3 weeks left to go, and we're here to take a look at the Sinnoh Division teams. Now, if you do enjoy this video, please leave it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comments section below who you think will make it into the playoffs. Now, we're going to start by looking at the brackets. So we have previously covered the other three divisions, and now we're going to be taking a look down here in the Sinnoh Division. So let's go ahead and bring up the teams. So we have, these are the teams, of course, in there. With their current records and a differential, which of course the differential is just for the power rankings video that I do every Tuesday. And we have, of course, the differentials will have no effect when it comes to actual playoff positionings for because, of course, the team with the best record will move on to the playoffs. In the event of a tie, the team captains of each team will actually battle against each other. So we're going to start off with the Long Island Reggie Rockies. Team captain Hippopotas, very interesting. The only other team so far that has not brought their team captain into any of their battles. Of course, the other team was the South Beach Slow Kings, have not yet brought their team captain Charmander to any battles yet either. Really hasn't brought a whole lot. It was very similar to when the Long Island Reggie Rockies battled in Season 1, where they brought all their Pokemon from like OU, UU, and RU, but never brought any of their NU mons until the last like 2 or 3 weeks of battle. So far, as you can see, we have Spritzy, Apom, Larvesta, Larvesta, Magby, Clamperl, Piplup, and Sewaddle. Of course, basically have brought everything every single week except for Sewaddle, who was switched out for Larvesta when they went up against I believe it was the Durham Druddigons. Yeah, I'm trying to think back. Yeah, I think it was when they went up against the Durham Druddigons is when they brought the Sewaddle, or they brought the Sewaddle when they went up against the Philadelphia for Alligators. I forget which one it was, but I'm pretty sure it was when they went up against the Durham Druddigons. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go over to my notes that I have from all this, and let's see. Trying to find out. Yeah, they brought the Sewaddle when they went up against the Durham Druddigons. So, otherwise, they've used the exact same team every single time. So, they've never brought, aside from Hippopotas, the Amora, the Clauncher, and the Beldum. Some people kind of surprised that he hasn't brought the Beldum. But the Beldum, of course, is, unless it has some decent egg moves, which I believe it does have, the only move it learns is Takedown with it. But can't really do a whole lot other than that. But that's definitely the only fault of Long Island, I would say, having with them is they've been trying to rely too much on setup between the Calm Mind Spritzy, the Belly Drum Magby, and the Shell Smashing Clamperl. That's what ended up costing them their loss against the Newcastle Needle Kings, was they were trying desperately to keep setting up, and it just never worked out in their favor. Now, of course, the setup did end up helping them out in their Week 3 match with the Durham Druddigons when Magby set up a Belly Drum and was able to actually sweep the rest of the Durham Druddigons team for it. So, we'll see if they end up changing up their strategies, but I mean, they went pretty well for the first 3 weeks. Let's see if they can keep it going. Up next, we move on to the Philadelphia for Alligators, 0-3. Very hard chance. I've mentioned this with every team that's had an 0-3, that there is still a possibility for them to make it into the playoffs, but it is extremely, extremely difficult to do. You have to hope that they have to win all 3 of their matches. They have to hope that the Newcastle Needle Kings lose their next 3 matches, and then that would result, though, in a 4-way tie with every single team having a 3-on-3, or at least that would result if also the Durham Druddigons would also have to defeat the Long Island Reggie Rockies, of course, as well for it. So that would result in all teams having a 3-3 record and all 4 team captains going into battle. Would that end up being the case? It's very unlikely, but possible. I would think there'd be, it's too hard to say who would actually end up winning all that. But Team Captain Totodile only been brought once, which is very surprising considering how often they brought for Alligator during Season 1 of the UCL. Their most offensive Mon, or at least the Mon that they've brought the most, that's gotten the most kills, of course, have been Lickitung with 6 knockouts, so it's averaging 2 per week. Had a real bad, misplay with Remoraid during their battle with the Newcastle Nido Kings, just due to the fact that it was holding the cell battery, and they believed that it would negate any electric attack and raise the special attack, when unfortunately it did not work that way at all. So if it weren't for that, there's a good chance that they might have actually been able to have defeated the Newcastle Nido Kings, but unforeseen circumstances with an item that they were unfamiliar with, unfortunately, caused them to lose. So they could have potentially been 1-2 going into this, but just a few misplays. I would say definitely one of the best strategies. They've been really doing well with their strategies. It's just been not paying off with it. At least if you go back and look at their match with the Newcastle Nido Kings, look at it from the perspective of the Philadelphia for Alligators coach. Which of course is PK Sparks. That hotness has been he did really well. Some people might accuse him for overthinking, but you know what? He wants to try and win, and even though this is a very casual format, that no one's really taking this too seriously, it's still nice to see that he's still taking everything into account, because of course this will hopefully reflect in the Season 2, where hopefully they will still come back and make a go at it. Only Pokemon that they have not yet brought is the Magikarp, and I don't foresee them ever really bringing Magikarp, because I think at level 5 it only knows Splash, and it gets the Egg move, Bounce. Hang on one second. So it's really hard to say. They've had decent strategy. I mean, it took them until week 3 to learn that Drillbur learns Rapid Spin, and because that cost them during their week 2 opponents with the Durham Dredaguns, when Ammonite set up, I believe it was Stealth Rocks and Toxic Spikes. Drillbur can of course just spin all that stuff away with them. So, and then also I think Finneon can get Defog as well, so they can defog stuff away with it. So they have a lot of different options as far as removing hazards. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. Of course, the mons they brought the most have been Lickitung and Remoraid. Remoraid has a great move pool. It just has to be able to execute these attacks for it. So, good luck to PK Sparks and the Philadelphia for Alligators for the remainder of the season. I'm not biased for it, but I don't like to see any teams have no wins during the season for it. So, moving on, we have the division leaders, the Newcastle Nido Kings, who also have, I believe, I'd have to double check the rest of them, has a Pokemon that has had the most kills out of the entirety of this league, with Chinchou being brought in all 3 battles and has 8 knockouts to its credit and has not died once from it. It actually has been able to tear holes in this entire division with no one being able to really stop them. I'd say the best chance would be either the Long Island Reggie-Rockies or the Philadelphia for Alligators, because of course they have Drillbur, or it could be Drillbur and Goldeen from Philadelphia for Alligators, since Goldeen can get Lightning Rod. Hippopotas, being a ground type, would really help eliminate the electric ability, but of course still weak to the water, and that's why it has such a great typing for this league. Newcastle Nido Kings have a lot of mons that they have not yet brought, between Chikorita, Badoo, and Slugma. But has brought every single week the Pharaoh Seed, the Chinchou, the Natu, and the Glameow. Now, with that in mind, their opponents could start seeing that as a trend and maybe bring something to counter those for it, and then try and figure out what the final 2 ones they would bring every week would be. But for all we know, this has only been the first half, and in the next half they might bring none of those ones for the rest of the season for it. It'll be interesting to see. Has a lot of other great offensive mons. You have their team captain, the Nidoran male, with 3 knockouts to his credit. Gumi was only brought 1 time, but managed to get 2 knockouts from it. everyone else been able to get at least one. Cyndaquil is the only one that's been brought that has not had a knockout, but it has not been knocked out either for it. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how the rest of the season goes for them. They have the greatest chance of all these teams to make it into the playoffs. Of course, they made it into the playoffs in Season 1 as well. So finally, we have the Durham Dreadguns, 1-2 right now. Have a very interesting team. Of course, their most offensive mon being Ammonite so far, 4 knockouts, but has been knocked out all 3 times has been brought. It has different variances on it. He can go with a setup one, where it can set up like the either spikes or toxic spikes and or stealth rocks. Two of those 3 usually. Can also set up with a shell smash and take out his opponent with that for him. Blitzel has pretty decent, can absorb the electric typing from Chinchou if it goes with the lightning rod ability on it. But I'd say, they have pretty decent. The only Pokemon they have not brought so far have been Onyx, Pinecone, and that's about it. They brought everyone at least once. It was interesting because I think they even brought, they just have a very unique team with them. A lot of electric weaknesses, which of course the Chinchou from the Newcastle Nidoking can take advantage of, with electric weaknesses in Volibee, Omni, Mantike, Panpour, Squirtle, and Ducklet, all being weak to electric. Mantike and Ducklet being 4 times weak to it. It's very interesting. Of course, the only defeat they had was against the Philadelphia Feraligators. They could still have a chance. They basically have to win the rest of their matches and hope the Newcastle Nidokings lose at least twice. So, again, just like with the Philadelphia Feraligators being able to try and make it into the playoffs, it is possible. It's just very, very unlikely to see happen for it. But in the event, let's say all these teams actually do get the same 3-3 record as far as who would end up winning, I would say the best bet would probably be on probably the Blitzel from it, but that would be Totodile taking out Hippopotas, Blitzel being able to take out the Totodile. Nidoran male is kind of neutral to everything, only being super weak to the Hippopotas, so you'd have to hope for, Nidoran being falling to Hippopotas, Totodile taking out Hippopotas himself, and then Blitzel taking out Totodile. Again, very unlikely situations happening. More than likely, good chance of the Newcastle Nidokings actually going into the semifinals during this offseason, much like they did during Season 1 of the UCL. But that's going to go ahead and cover our mid-season analysis for the UCL in their Sinnoh Division, as well as all other divisions have been covered by this point. So, like I said, let me know in the comment section who you believe will be making it into the playoffs. And, of course, what other kinds of videos you want to see me do on here. So if you did enjoy, like I said earlier, leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more UCL content that I try to produce here on my own. Of course, I am unrecognized by the UCL. If you do enjoy this, I encourage everyone to tweet at the UCL saying, you've seen this and you want to see this become more of an official thing. So, but thank you all very much again for watching. Take care and good night.